Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
It's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe. It's a mood. Hey.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone on Facebook. Good morning to everyone on YouTube. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ashe, Dr. Jamie, we be in the spirit. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. As you're coming in, listen, as you see, I'm in a different location. I'm in a car. I am actually on vacation, and thankfully, with some friends, we call ourselves GGP. Some of you have seen me post. 2022, we lost two of our members, and we said, I'm gonna roll this window up, y'all, so if you hear you just hear, I don't want the mosquitoes to come in this tropical area. And so we gathered to honor and to celebrate. Good morning as you're coming. Good morning. And so, I vacillated whether or not I would come on PRC. There definitely will not be a PRC next Sunday as my vacation continues. There definitely will not be a community next Sunday online. However, I went back and forth whether or not I would come on today, and not solely because I'm out of town, because you all know that that doesn't stop me, but I'm tired, and this is not the oh my goodness I'm so sleepy kind of tired. It's kind of like I don't know if it's an innovation fatigue. And so for those of you for whom this is your first time and you are looking, I don't know, you're looking for what you heard last Sunday, or somebody sent you here and you're looking for a particular entrance or kind, listen, it's not that today. It is, I don't even have, and it's not, I don't even, right? It's, I don't have, because I don't even have suggests that what you don't have is not enough. Or that I don't even have suggests that, what you don't have is not valid, or that it doesn't have authority in and of itself, right? And so I don't have, this one text, yet it's been the same text from last week. Jesus being on the boat, and being able to rest because he believed that he prepared the people to be able to withstand and to handle what was coming their way. And I believe it's Mark, where I don't even have a text in front of me. All I traveled with this week, y'all, was my phone. That's a big deal for me. That is a big deal for me. All I traveled with was my phone. And so when Jesus, I think it's somewhere in Mark 1, I believe it is. Yeah, I talked a little bit about it last week. Jesus enters the temple to teach, and the unclean spirit says, hey, Jesus, we know who you are. I know who you are. What have you to do with us, right? What you want, basically, like, what you want here. What do you want here? And I've been like sitting with that and all of what I believe in sort of this very postmodern understanding, all that I believe that an unclean spirit is. And so I'm just about to throw out a few things, right? Because as I'm saying, like I considered not showing up today, but I also wanted to be in community. And that's the thing with clergy renewal, clergy burnout, for whatever it is in your discipline, wherever you are, is that these strategies, right? It makes it hard to really show up, because then you always have to be in play. You always have to be thinking the next thing. You always have to think, well, what if such and such sees this and then they find out? Like, there's always a strategy to something, right? And I was just, getting up to or thinking all through the week, like, damn, why is there always a strategy? Like, there's always there needs to be a safe space, a brave space, because we always know we can't, I can't show up. I can't say this here. I can't say that there. And that's exhausting. I don't know about you all, but it's tiring. It's exhausting to have to know where you can say when, how you can say what, right? And I do think about our enslaved ancestors who had to live in this very subversive way. But I imagine, and maybe I'm romanticizing in some way, but I imagine, like, were there some safe spaces? Yes. And hence, this is why this is a digital hush harbor. But even in the hush harbor, even in this digital hush harbor, right, there are folks who operate in ways that their level, how should I say? There are folks who operate in ways there are folks who have trauma responses, and their trauma response fuels how they act. And sometimes they don't know how to just simply be in community and hear and receive without sort of taking that strategy back to the powers. But y'all understand what I'm saying? Y'all get what it. Y'all get where I'm going, kind of, sort of, because I know that I'm even being kind of coy now, intentionally, because I have to protect my heart. But just know that I'm tired. I am tired, and I am angry, and I am frustrated, and I am overwhelmed with not any one person, before the other folks, those of you who sometimes are at home trying to figure out who or what. It's there could, listen, if I needed to name, I could, but it's not just it's an arc, right? There is an arc here, and that arc has to do with really understanding who I am. And I am grateful for my mom. Our relationship it became complicated for me over the year later in my adult life. And what I do understand now as a grown person, that it has always been complicated for my mom, Ashe. You get it? Like, so it's always, our relationship has always been complicated for her, but because of my lack of sight, lack of maturity, not understanding, thinking things are black or white, when you think you know everything, it only became complicated for me later in life. And the complication now is subsiding into understanding. Yeah, I'm going to ease my way right in there into understanding. Listen, I'm not making linear moves right now, meaning I'm not beginning at point A and I'm not ending at Z. So if you're looking for what's your point, you might want to, catch us next week, because I am totally not in that. I'm just moving. I'm releasing. I wanted to be in community. It's my offering. Amen and Ashe. Anyway, I am glad that I am in the same place as my mom, that I was in the same place, that as Spirit would have it, I was be in the same place that my mom is on this week. And the way she has ministered to me, my God, Lord. it's a grown woman though kind of minister. It's not, I mean, as a mother, she is a mother who's talking to a grown woman who happens to be her daughter. And wow, the way that she has clarified things for me, because she knows me. And the way she read me, not like read me for filth, but the way that she read my heart, and the way that she asked me questions around whom she has always known me to be, has been soothing in this season, but particularly in this moment, right? Like she just, my goodness. And so because of the sacredness of the conversation, certainly I won't be sharing all the ins and outs, but this is what she said to me. She said something around the fact that, because I have continuously received a kind of critique, a kind of feedback. I mean, this week isn't the first time I heard. I mean, I have always, right? But especially once I fully understood and adopted, that's not the word. Once I fully understood, accepted, and leaned into the sound of my genuine. Once I was able to identify it, because listen, the sound has always been there. Yeah, the sound of my genuine has always been present, and that's what she did this week. She helped me to recall, girl, like this ain't new. You've been here, like you have been here. And one of the things she said, and I get confused why you get confused at the response. She said, I'm so confused when you're so confused, because you have always stood on who you are. Like from a little girl, you have always seen something and said, nope, 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 nope. And even when you have attempted to be like, even when somebody, even if I, as your mother said, because I said that's not it, don't do that, you still came with that. This has been who you are. And I guess the exhaustion is from believing that by now others would know who you are. Hold on, walk with me. And then recognizing, no, they do know. It does know, hence unclean spirit. What do you have to do? I know who you are, is what that text says. My God, today. Woo! The text says, I know who you, what are you coming here? What do you have to do with us? And in that moment, Jesus says, be quiet and come out. Now listen, we, high five and oh my God. But it's the be quiet part that I don't know if we recognize the risk that comes with speaking to the unclean spirit, and you put in that blank what you believe the unclean spirit is. Hodari. You put in the blank what that unclean spirit is. There is a risk, because you're going to be identified. Because it's in your DNA. It's in some of us. It's in our makeup. It's even if we just show up, it's our embodied energy. It's our theopraxis. It is in our aesthetic. Just by coming in the room and not opening our mouth, it already knows who we are. And here's what makes it tiring, because some of us have decided for our livelihoods, well, I'm gonna at least attempt to do this, right? Let me just go ahead and do this little right over here, and I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna But anything that knows that your presence could possibly turn it over is going to identify you first. And by identifying you first, it makes the others around scared. And with that fear, you recognize that folks really aren't about that life. This is what Jesus, I believe, was recognizing. I'm moving in between these two texts. Yeah. You know, when he's asleep on the boat and the storm is coming, Jesus thinks that he has equipped them and has taught them, only to wake up and realize that, damn, they not even about that life. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. You know, folks say they want innovation. A system will say they want something new. It will say, you know, people will say in relationships, oh, I'm looking for, you know, something fresh. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, there really is never a home for folks who have revolutionary sight and who embody revolutionary witness. That's the reality. And folks say, Melva, you know, just go ahead and get to therapy. I got a therapist, but some of this needs to be talked out in community, because some of us are culpable. I've been watching, I am really exhausted. But I'm exhausted at being me. Dr. Jamie, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? But it's, you know, it's, well, then change you. It's not that. I'm exhausted at what is required of me to be me. Mm-hmm. And it's such a requirement that I can't turn back or be anything other than me. Mm-hmm. But it is exhausting, the kind of sight, the level of sight. What I see is exhausting. It is exhausting. I ain't talking about y'all on here. I'm just talking about it is exhausting, because folk will say, I rock with you. A system will say, hey, let's go. You know, and then they'll do stuff like, this is for my colleagues of a different persuasion who are sometimes unsure about what they're experiencing or how it makes them feel. Uncomfortable. So instead of just being in silence, or instead of sitting and wrestling and, in the words of Dr. Renita Weems, listening for God, they may say things like, after you have given your heart in a presentation, after you have called for revolutionary witness, that was fun. Oh, that was your talk was so fun. It was fun. It was fun. Me talking about the wounds of the church, it was fun. So I'm saying it's exhausting. I've been watching, thank y'all, this is really helping me. I've been in silence this week. I've just, you know how you get to a place where you just feel like talking is just exhausting. It's just like, I can't. because I don't know who would really get it. Like who gonna get it? Who really gets what it's just. And then because well, it's not safe to share, and because you got to hold this here, but it's then you lose control of your narrative, right? It's the other thing with strategy and moving in and out. You lose control of the narrative, and now your narrative is out here being spoken without your stamp on it. However, it ain't even true, friends. I've been watching Hodari, Dear Mama, on Hulu. I am a proud Generation X. And my mama was sharing this with me yesterday. She said, Generation X, like, they really don't get no love. She said, my mom said yesterday, Generation X is like the Vietnam War. She said Vietnam veterans got no love. They fought a war that they shouldn't have been in. And when they got home, she said they got no love, none. She said, that's how I see Generation X. She said, you all are the between. You're after civil rights. You're right at the tail end of Black Power, and yet all of the phenomenon goes to millennials. The millennials this and the millennials that, and then Gen Z, and then whoever Alpha, whoever else is after that. She said, but really, Gen Xers have kept this ish going. Meaning, you all have been the bridge. You all have been the glue. She said, and where my generation as a baby boomer, some of us, right, got so exhausted and worn out from the movements. She said, y'all Generation X have kind of been like, hell no, we not doing that. We not doing that. And we're going to speak on it. So what I was sharing with her as I've been watching Dear Mama, and for those of you who have been watching Dear Mama, especially Gen Xers who were born between 1968 and I'm going to say maybe around 1974, and particularly those born in 1971. Listen around this exhaustion, because it's helping me. I'm going somewhere. My mother, around my birth narrative, my dad, my biological dad, and my mom got married while my dad was on a furlough home from Vietnam. My mom was trying to escape her mother's home and was frustrated with her mother and her mother's generation, and was really harmed and frustrated by respectability politics, by what she was expected to do, how she should show up, and what will the neighbors say, and so forth and so on. And then this is what you need to do. And so she called. My dad liked her. He had an interest in her, and she must have had a little interest in him. But she says that she called him and she said, hey, do you still want to get married? And he said, yes. So on a furlough, when he came home, my mom and my dad got married in 1970, I think. My dad goes back to Vietnam to finish this tour. My biological father, I'm speaking, whom I rarely speak of, but I'm speaking of him in this sense, goes back to Vietnam for his tour. And my mother, in this time, to consummate their relationship, and my mom is now pregnant. Follow me, just follow me. My mom is pregnant. My mom is pregnant in 1971. This is 3 years after Martin Luther King has been assassinated. This is 1 year after Fred Hampton has been assassinated. This is also 1 year after, 2 years after the Panther 21 have been indicted and are now arrested, and some are in jail, including Afeni Shakur. At the time all of this is happening in the world, at the time all of this revolutionary work and black women, not just Afeni, but Asata and others. Also, this is the time now, Asata, if she is not already, I don't have the dates in front of me, if she has not already been liberated from prison, she is about to be liberated from prison, right? All of this is happening, and I am growing inside my mother. Remember, we talked about epigenetics on last week. This DNA, right? And we talked about how trauma is passed down through DNA. But I just want to suggest for a moment here that what if we considered that revolutionary witness can also be passed down through one's DNA. Yeah, that trauma certainly is passed through that. But also, what does it mean if for some of us, we really do not have the ability to be quiet when we see injustice? We really do not have the ability to be quiet around issues of injustice and oppression, because literally as we were growing in the vessels that were carrying us, all around us were fights for liberation. What if? My mama was looking for herself, born in Miami, Florida, raised in Greenville, South Carolina, by my same fire-talking aunt that you hear me talking about. But I never say her name. I speak what she did and had the gift to do, but I never say her name, only because I don't lift her as an ancestor because of her brokenness and what she did to my mama, Ashe. So in her trying to find herself, my mom, now she is in the midst of a world that is vastly changing. She works for this hippie law firm. She becomes radicalized reading Frantz Fanon and others. She learns of the is it Argentinian born Cuban revolutionary Che Guevara, and she is so moved. She says that it hit her so deeply that she started calling me Che before I was even outside of her womb. What have you to do with us, Jesus? She became a part of the Nation of Islam. We got our exes. My mom says the only reason that she did not move forward in both the Nation and the Panther Party was because of the misogyny and the patriarchy. She said she wasn't going to run from one hellhole to the next. So my father came back from Vietnam, wounded, an addict, wounded, and abusive. All of this is wrapped in my DNA. So as I'm watching Dear Mama, I am weeping because, especially when those of you, if you've never listened to Dear Mama, Tupac's song Dear Mama, when you listen to it, it's a heartbreaking song, but I relate to it so hard, and of course I won't tell parts of my mother's story because that's for her to share, although she will tell you my life is not a secret. So there were the parts that I related with, wherein what happens to those who have revolutionary witness, when the unclean spirit keeps identifying them, and when they keep attempting to free the people, and the people say that they want to be free, but somehow the people remain in the shackles, and ultimately it feels as if the system wins somehow, because when you look back, there are only a handful of them. There are only a handful of them. Someone says I'm frozen. Let me know if I am. There are only a handful of them who have been able to fold into mainstream. Yes, Natasha. And so it is. We are they, and they are we. I said, my God, Afeni Shakur was pregnant with Tupac. We're Tupac and I are the same age. Afeni Shakur was pregnant with Tupac, carried him in jail. He grew in her womb in jail. She says, in her own words in this documentary, she says, I want to represent myself. She said, I am facing life. She said, I am facing life, and I want my narrative. This might be the only time, she says, this might be the only time I ever get to speak. My God. Speak and advocate on my behalf. So Afeni Shakur, not a trained lawyer, but a lived revolutionary, defended herself. And when she defended herself, they separated her case from the others. Defended herself and won. But the tax that she and others like her and my mother's generation in that time, the tax that they had to pay, my God, is the same tax that some of us have to pay when we attempt to fit into spaces or to call a thing and not be ostracized, not be talked about in group chats, not have your conversations screenshots. It's the same. It is that our own people constantly surveil us. COINTELPRO may have ended, but we constantly surveil each other. And it is detrimental. It is harmful. We surveil each other. It is rooted in fear, Ashe. It is a part of the slave system. We hope that by surveilling others, it will prevent our time on the auction block. And in our surveillance, the ultimate thing that we desire is to silence. Unclean spirit, I know who you are. So I just, want to wrap up simply by saying, Fred Hampton says, I am a revolutionary. That's what he said. Every time I hear him say it, I just start crying. Because there is something in me that resonates with this 21-year-old man who is so locked in about the freedom of his people that he puts it on the line. And I've even had to say, Spirit, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I'm not losing it. I'm not, even the frustration. Listen, I'm not going here for my people because my people, they say that's what they want and that's not what they want. Because everybody talking about heaven ain't going. I just wish it was shared with me. Dara, here's what was shared with me recently. Well, Melva, here's the concern. The concern is that folks don't know. Some people think, listen, I'm gonna say this. Go ahead, Natasha and Carmen, you can drop it here. I'm just gonna go over to the clearing for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes. Just for a few. You could drop the link because I don't have my laptop. I'm asking Carmen and Natasha, the DigiDeacons, to drop the link to the clearing. You may just have to also give the passcode and the meeting ID in case, friends, the link doesn't work. Thank you, DigiDeacons. I appreciate it. Here's been a constant. I mean, this is constant. This is constant. Okay, it is constant. You live too much in the wound. You live too much in the wound of the church of an institution and not enough in the wow. And because you don't often, we don't know, we don't know where you are in that. And because you don't use, words like church, and you don't say God, and you don't say community, we don't know where to place you. What wows you? I was recently asked this question in a professional setting, and it kind of jarred me. I love you, Dr. Black. Danny Black. I'm not going to do this with you. I'm not going to do this with you. The question was something like, talk to me about where you see the awesomeness of God. I took a heavy sigh and was like, what? Talk to me about where you see the awesomeness of God. And I started searching for, listen, y'all know I'm quick-witted. My responses, I'm a good communicator. I'm quick-witted. But that one, I couldn't even make myself say something acceptable. I said, my response was something like this. As a Black woman in America, there are days when it is really hard to see the awesomeness of God. This idea of awesomeness, this kind of construct for me, is rooted in a system that beat the awesomeness of God into my ancestors, that would beat them and then demand that they would praise and worship their God. It's hard for me to talk about the awesomeness of God when the collective of my people struggle, when people are in Sudan are suffering, when mass shootings as a result of guns that are received that should not be received if there were kinds of restrictions, that bodies that are being policed by legislation revelation and not by women who hold those bodies. Listen, it is hard for me to talk about this awesomeness of God. It is hard for me to separate that, right? So if that means that I live into the wound and not the wow, then so goddamn be it. That is what it is. And I think that, that I'm finally at the space where my mom back to her says, I'm confused what you're confused about. You're going to have to get out here and get it. Because listen, you are a marked person and you are always going to be marked because the uncleanliness of any system is always going to identify you. And even if they let you in, it's only going to be momentarily. So while you're there, yes, get what you need, do what you need to do, and know, my God, today. But so then where do we go? Where do all of us go? Listen, where is the space for us? How do we live? Where will we be? There's always the threat of this. Where do we go, y'all? Because see, here's what I know. Even for some of you all who are here, you come to Pink Road Chronicles because it lets you lean into your revolutionary witness and it lets you hear shit that you can't hear in your church. But you still go to your church because you won't let that go. Because there's something in you. There's a part of you that still feels that this is some kind of gimmick. That freeing the people is something that still should be on the margins. Now, this is not all of you, but this is some of you. Some of you come here Sunday in and Sunday out. Some of you take my whole word, my whole message, and you preach it again in your pulpits. Not all of you, but some of you. You do that. You do that. Ashe. You will never say, I'm PRC. You'll never invite me to speak in your church. You'll never invite me to stand with your people. If you see me when you with your certain kind of clergy colleagues, you won't even acknowledge it because you don't want them to know. But there's a cost for this. And if somebody asks you to give in a way that is consistent, this is not all of you, that is consistent, but the way in which we give a tithe to an institution that wants you to acknowledge the wow while not having courage to live into the wound and to correct it. When I think about Afeni Shakur, when I think about Mutulu Shakur, when I think about those revolutionary witnesses, my God, I think about how we failed them. I think about how Mutulu Shakur has to come home after being locked down for so many years and how we have to have GoFundMes and how we have to beg people, because the truth of the matter is that we can talk a good game about how we want revolutionary witness and how we want innovation and how we want a new thing, but we will never really admit the noose that remains around our neck because it is attached to our livelihood. And I get it. Listen, in the words of the street prophet Jeezy, Georgia Power ain't gonna give a ninja lights free. I get it. But what if the beauty of something like a Panther Party and the community survival programs and the food program and the programs to screen against sickle cell was that it was intercommunal? Y'all, we really do have everything we need. And we don't even invest in it. And so, yes, you have clergy burnout. I got a text in one of my group chats this morning from a dear clergy friend saying, hey, pray for me this morning because I'm struggling. And because I know the lens of this friend, because I know the heart of this friend, because I know that we stand in the same vein, I know exactly what the struggle is. The struggle is that I am struggling going to this space where these ninjas gonna look at me in a certain way. Listen, where they are saying to me, I see you, unclean spirit. That's it. I don't think and Michelle, so I hate that. I hate that. I hate that has been in your experience. I hate that. And listen, don't hear me, because I don't think I'm hated by clergy. Well, the real the truth is I don't care, but I don't think and I mean I don't care not in a flip way, because we all have feelings and there are things that hurt our feelings, but I mean that it's not gonna stop me. It's not gonna stop me. But it's just a cost to it, and I'm really exhausted, and I'm really exhausted. It is exhausting. It is exhausting is what I want to say. Yeah, it's, and so, yeah, sometimes you think it is safer. It's safe just to be quiet. It's safe, and even your favorites, they won't tell you the cost, but there is. Your favorite one who has reached the pinnacle, whatever their profession or vocation is, there is. They're not going to tell you that because they shining on the gram. They're not going to tell you that. There's a cost. Yeah, there's a cost. Hell yeah, there's a cost. There is a cost. And that's how come I don't know what kind of Christians some of y'all are. Because some of y'all don't look like y'all paying no cost. There's a cost. There's a cost. There's a cost. This shit is costly. Yeah. It is costly. Sometimes, you'll be like, damn, let me just go back to before I knew any of this. And when my mother reminded me, it's like, boo, there's no real going back, because it's always been you've always been this being. You've always asked questions. You've always bucked. You've always been like, nah, that ain't fair. That ain't right. No. That's why my children are named Free and Phoenix. I'm going to head off of here now and just go over to this clearing for a few minutes. Natasha and Carmen, have you placed the link? Thank you. They've placed this link. Can you also, if you're able to, here, I'm going to put this up also for those of you. Go ahead and write that down right quick. Just the member ID. Ashe, thank you for all of you all who are sending me messages, text messages right now. I love you all and I need them, so pour into me, absolutely. Pour into me today. Yes, I need it and I receive it. Okay, I'm going to take that down now, so hopefully you had a time to write it, to read it, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm going to go in clearing for a little bit, just a little bit, because I have to, get up, check out, and do all that other stuff. Ashe, y'all. Thank you also to those of you who showed up for our community member last week, right? And listen, and it doesn't stop. Even in this, there's not a week that goes by that I'm not receiving a request for mutual aid. And listen, don't stop. Don't stop, right? Because I believe in us that much. I believe in us that much that we have what we need, right? And it is, if there's any evangelism to be done, it is in the evangelism that is received when folk realize that their community showed up for them. Because that is the good news, my God, today. Jesus. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being a blessing to the community members who have needed it over the months. And let me